Thanks for joining us today. Over the next 45 minutes, we'll be giving you an overview of the greater Portland area and diving into some of the reasons it's one of the world's leading markets for food and beverage processing and innovation. You will hear from some of the leaders in the local food and beverage industry who will share why they have chosen to grow and expand in greater Portland. After our conversations, we are confident you'll see why greater Portland is the best place to put down roots in the United States. In the last decade, Greater Portland has emerged as one of the fastest growing metro areas in the United States. Our region continues to attract businesses and residents because it offers so much in terms of outstanding amenities and value. One of our best assets is our location. The Greater Portland market sits at the joining of two rivers, the Columbia and Willamette, and is centrally located on the west coast of the United States between Silicon Valley and Seattle. Spanning Oregon and Southwest Washington, the metro area sits in the shadow of the iconic Mount Hood and offers easy access to Asia-Pacific markets by air and ship. Portland also enjoys excellent connectivity to business centers across the United States, as well as destinations in Europe. In terms of cost of living and cost of doing business, Greater Portland is one of the most affordable large markets on the West Coast, especially compared to San Francisco and Seattle. We have a friendly business climate that encourages companies like Intel and Nike, Adidas, Daimler Trucks, and Genentech to stay and grow. Here you can grow faster and go further at a lower cost. Both Oregon and Washington offer state-level incentives to encourage food processing companies to expand here. These incentives include tax deferrals and exemptions in Washington and strategic reserve funds in Oregon. With a population of 2.6 million people, our region's greatest strength is our highly skilled workforce and our unwavering ability to attract new talent. With a combination of quality of life, affordability, and world-class higher education institutions and training programs, it is no wonder why we have the highest in-migration of talented young workers in the entire Western United States. The region is prized for its microclimates and long growing season, as well as its plentiful natural resources, which provide abundant clean water and low-cost reliable power. Our region has access to 3 distinct growing regions that offer more than 200 unique agricultural products, from pears and blueberries to wheat and wild salmon. Lots of places boast high quality of life, but for us here, what that truly means is that you can be at the Pacific Coast in about an hour, the region's world-renowned wine country in 30 minutes, and into the snowy mountains of the Cascade Range in less than 60. Along with that is a world-famous food and beer scene, top-notch Pinot Noir, and a creative culture that allows people to express themselves and enjoy a healthy work-life balance. Based on survey data from last August, U.S. News & World Report named Portland the #1 best city to live in on the West Coast, and we agree. Greater Portland is regularly recognized as a leader in public transportation infrastructure. Light rail lines stretch across the region, and a world-class biking network has earned Portland a spot as the #1 bike commuter city in the U.S. As travel continues to resume, we would love to host you in our market and have you experience America's favorite airport 7 years running. PDX has international connectivity with nonstop flights to London, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Tokyo, Seoul, and more than 40 flights to the Silicon Valley each day. Later, we're going to take your questions to our panel. You can ask a question at any time and put it in the chat. And if you'd like to set up a time to talk with our team, simply email us at bizdev@greaterportlandinc.com. We can't wait to show you all that our region has to offer. It's time to hear from some of our local food and beverage leaders about why they chose Greater Portland and how their businesses are thriving here. Meet Michael Pan, founder and CEO of Pan's, the maker of Pan's Mushroom Jerky. I think you'll find his story not only unique, but a testimony as to why Portland is a great place to put down roots.
One shark is out. Michael has 2 offers on the table, one from Blake and Lori and another from Mark for his mushroom jerky company, Pan's.
Pan's Mushroom Jerky being on Shark Tank has completely changed our business. We expected, really good exposure from the show, and we knew we would get some really amazing opportunities from the appearance.
I'll do it for 15.
Mark, you got a deal.
I love you guys.
You just got shiitake.
We expected maybe 5,000 orders from the show, and we knew that would be challenging for our growing business, but it completely exceeded our expectations, where we ended up getting 35,000 orders in just a few days. We've been very fortunate to have the growth that we had due to our product and the market that we're in. But that would not have been possible if we would not have been lifted up by the community that exists here in the greater Portland area. One of the most valuable things that we found is just the community of makers who make amazing products, are amazing people, and most importantly, want to help other companies like ourselves to succeed. How we started this business actually started off a trip to Malaysia to visit my extended family. And I quickly found out that they had been making this really amazing snack for themselves, for their family, and for the region for a number of decades. And after this trip, I knew we had something special that had to be shared with the rest of the world. We make Pan's mushroom jerky in Portland, Oregon. We also have operations in Vancouver, Washington, where we happen to have our sales and marketing team. And we've been very fortunate here in the greater Portland region that a lot of the people who end up working for us are here to stay. They love the region. Not only is the area just a wonderful place to live, but they found the cost of living happened to be a lot more affordable for them here. They stay in the Portland region because of the culture of caring that people have in the area. People really care about causes. They care about companies that have a mission. And we found that that's been a huge reason why that they are willing to work with us and stay with us and, use their time and their energy to build a company that has a greater mission that has an impact on the world. The food and beverage culture here in the Pacific Northwest has been just amazing. It's something that we're really excited that we're a part of, because I think it's really helped our product and our brand get a lot of recognition around the country.
Earlier this season, we watched Michael Pan make a deal with Mark Cuban for his plant-based jerky company, Pan's Mushroom Jerky.
It's now or never, Michael.
No, you can't do that.
Mark, you got a deal.
A lot of people think that Shark Tank is a golden ticket to success. The reality is that the greater Portland region really provided the foundation that we needed in order to succeed. The access to capital, the access to talent, the way of life, and the cost of doing business here has really helped us succeed and get us to where we are today.
What a great story. Thanks so much, Michael, for sharing your exciting food journey with us. Did you know Oregon is home to 16 million acres of farmland and is the #1 U.S. producer of blueberries, rhubarb, crimson clover, azaleas, and Christmas trees? Oregon is also first for production of hazelnuts, with 100% of the nation's hazelnuts produced right here. The Oregon Department of Agriculture plays a big role in helping keep Oregon competitive in the agriculture space. I had a chance to learn more about the role they play in promoting a vibrant agriculture landscape.
The greater Portland area is incredibly diverse in the agriculture that we're able to produce, and that's largely due to the landscape that we have. We have these niches that are just fabulous for specific crops, and the region is a leader in organics. The state of Oregon was the first to create a standard for organic back in 1973, and we continue to be a big leader in organic today. Oregon has more than 220 different crops that we produce in the state, and that's fabulous for our food and beverage sector. There are several ways that Oregon Department of Agriculture works with companies in the greater Portland area. ODA has a marketing team located in Portland that acts as a concierge. They work with industry members to navigate regulations and to introduce them to local and federal resources. The team is also there to help you develop marketing activities to make the introductions to local buyers or to international buyers. We're there to help you develop the strategies that'll help you be successful. The greater Portland area is a one-of-a-kind community. Every day, I see our industry members sharing solutions, mentoring one another, helping them find ingredients or packaging, helping them get through the day just so they can finish their product run. It's a special place, and it's this sense of camaraderie that is why the greater Portland area is where people go to expand their business.
Thank you so much, Jess. We want to remind you that if you like to set a meeting or ask a specific question about your particular business relocation or expansion needs, please reach out to our team by emailing us at bizdev@greaterportlandinc.com. Portland has long led the way in eco-consciousness and was recently ranked the #1 most sustainable metro in the U.S. Oregon gets half of its power from renewable resources, and thanks to abundant parks and urban forests, there are 470 square feet of green space for each resident. One of the leaders in the region when it comes to keeping sustainability at the top of its priorities is Pacific Seafood. Let's hear from Elizabeth Bingode, Associate General Counsel from Pacific Seafood, to learn more.
Pacific Seafood is a family-owned company that was founded over 80 years ago in the greater Portland area. We have over 3,000 team members and over 20 locations. So what makes us unique is that we have operations that range from farms to processing locations, distribution centers, and restaurants. It gives us the unique opportunity to work with people throughout the seafood supply chain, from the farm to the table. Like a number of other businesses in the greater Portland region, sustainability is a very important aspect of who we are and what we do. We fully recognize that healthy oceans and a healthy environment breed healthy fish. And because of that, we care a lot about our environment and how we are treating the environment in the future of our oceans, of our air. And that is something that is very important to Oregonians and the greater Portland region. It's something that drives a number of the businesses here. We are very mindful about the stock to make sure that we are being good stewards of the ocean that provides us the goods that we are able to harvest and send throughout the world in the United States. Having quick access to the Pacific Rim is something that Pacific Seafood is very mindful of. We harvest a large number of Dungeness crab on the West Coast, and having access to transportation and a major airport is very important for us to be able to transport our goods to our customers in Asia who really enjoy having live seafood. Having a base in the greater Portland area has been a real asset to us as a company because we are able to recruit talent that is really interested in living in our unique area, specifically because of the food and beverage incubation that's here in the restaurants, in the food production, and so many of the other areas that we get to work with, and the fact that we work together collaboratively. One of the things that we've been able to do is partner with other industries like the Craft Brew Alliance, which has a very significant presence in the region. We have relationships with Tillamook, who's a major cheese producer, with wine, with food. There's a great deal of collaboration between all of us and really goodwill where we all work together. And we see that that collaboration makes our products better and it serves our consumers better. And so it's been a really neat opportunity for us to work with a number of really great products that are here, local, sustainable, and locally sourced. We're really thankful and recognizing that we have something great here where industry really works together, where industry wants to succeed, and we see that our success can really, by working together, can really launch us to a more global platform. We do have operations throughout the West Coast in Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, but our headquarters are here in Portland, Oregon for a reason. It's a wonderful quality of life. Our access to transportation allows us to distribute our goods quickly and efficiently. This is a place where our team members love living. It's a place where we are able to collaborate and we are able to take advantage of the wonderful resources that are available to us in the greater Portland area.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. One of the major questions we get from companies is around access to talent in the region. Here, companies can access 3 pools of talent. 1, from the large number of diversely talented new young residents. 2, from workforce training programs focused on specialized skills and upward mobility. And 3, from our strong university system. Speaking of our universities, I was able to chat with Dr. Dave Stone, Professor of Agricultural Science and Director of OSU's Food Innovation Center. Thank you, Dave, for joining us today. We know the Greater Portland region has a number of unique attributes in food and beverage. Can you talk to some of those specifics?
Sure. Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Portland and the surrounding area really has a bunch of different things that are in its favor for the diversity of food and beverage. One of them is the collaboration we see among the different makers. The other is the diversity of different products that we have access to, the culinary talent, the chefs, the entrepreneurial spirit, and the natural resources that surround the area. We have water that comes out through glaciers on our mountains that is the primary ingredient for any food and beverage. We have growing seasons that are unlike any other. We have topsoil that's deep, and able to grow over 200 different types of commodities. So the access to the raw materials is outstanding in itself.
If you were to sell Greater Portland strictly in food and beverage that is incomparable to any other region, what would that be?
I think if you see the innovation that comes out of the West Coast, but specifically out of Portland, it really leads the global trends in what consumers are looking for. So we innovate in all sorts of ways, including at my own center here at the Food Innovation Center, but also what comes out of the companies and the entrepreneurs from this kind of food ecosystem really is a cutting edge of all the different trends of what consumers are asking for with their food and beverage today.
Can you talk about the support that companies coming here would have and existing businesses have now?
The whole greater Portland area has a really nice ecosystem that supports food and beverage in particular. And that extends all the way from product development, reformulation, to a very food savvy population throughout the greater Portland area that can give a lot of good feedback about products and whether they're ready for the commercial marketplace or what changes need to be made. There's also a lot of good resources on siting manufacturing areas, on co-packing facilities, on just distribution, and a lot of accelerators and entrepreneurship that's here that really is a lot of structure and a lot of people rooting for success in these sectors.
What are some of the programs that Oregon State University is offering to existing businesses and businesses considering the region?
I'll start with the College of Agricultural Sciences at Oregon State University, which is one of the top ranked global agricultural colleges in the world, given the long history of the importance of agriculture here in the Willamette Valley, in the greater Portland area, and throughout the state. Specifically in Portland, my center, the Food Innovation Center, is solely intended to help support food and beverage companies succeed. And we do that through product development, systems with food safety, regulatory, and sensory and consumer evaluation. We also have a seafood innovation center not far away. We have a center that specializes on fruits and vegetables and nursery stock and has tremendous research. And in every county, you're going to find OSU present. And we work a lot with stakeholders. We have a mission to work with the industry. And when we have clients come from other places, they really remark about how different it is here and how eager they are to adopt the practices that they see in the greater Portland area.
How do you think the world perceives our brand?
Yeah, I mean, Oregon and the greater Portland area really can brand itself and does brand itself well on three major themes: sustainability, safety, and quality. And when I think about the part of the world that's growing the most in those Pacific Rim countries, and they look at what's happening over here, and when those products go to those markets, they fly off the shelf. And so again, we really own the space around sustainability, safety, and quality.
If there was a company on the fence with coming to Greater Portland, what would you share with them to convince them to come here?
If they are interested in authenticity, if they're interested in sustainability, if they're interested in innovation at the forefront of global food and beverage trends, then they need to come here and see what's happening for themselves.
Thanks, Dave, so much. We'll be talking to you shortly in the Q&A.
My pleasure. I look forward to it.
Thank you so much, Dave. Given the importance of physical assets and amenities to expanding food processing companies, we get a lot of questions about the options available in Greater Portland and about the presence of regional partners with food processing expertise. CBRE has been a faithful partner in helping companies get the physical resources they need to be successful in the region. Let's hear more from CBRE.
Thanks, Monique. CBRE is an international commercial real estate company, and one of the groups we work a lot with is food processing and distribution. The Greater Portland area has over 210 million square feet of industrial space. A lot of that is basic ambient storage, but quite a bit of it too is cold storage. So there's good existing infrastructure in the Greater Portland area, as well as third-party logistics companies that have been doing it for years, given our history and base of current processing. So we are relatively low cost in our real estate compared to other large West Coast metropolitan areas. Some of the reasons why my clients have chosen to locate in the Greater Portland area is because of the talent of the labor pool, the cost of the real estate, the resiliency of the power, the water supply, and another large one is our access to resources that we have. One of my food processing clients, they have a seasonal product, and sometimes that seasonal product requires asparagus. Well, he can talk to the local farmers that are all within 4 hours of his facility to understand when the asparagus is ripe enough and when it's a perfect time to pick it up or have it delivered to be able to go into his production. So even though he's a fairly large scale group, he still has this local access and the resources that the Greater Portland area can deliver. When it comes to getting your products to market or even getting raw materials to you, the region is really located in a fantastic area with north to south as well as east connectivity to the freeway system. We're close proximity to the Pacific Northwest ports, which are fantastic for export. We have multiple railways coming through the Greater Portland area, and then a fantastic international airport. The Greater Portland area has a variety of industrial building sizes and spaces, from 1,000 square feet all the way to hundreds of thousands of square feet that can help accommodate a food processor through their growth cycle. We do find a lot of companies starting in those incubator spaces of 1,000 square feet, and in not too long, they could be the size of a Bob's Red Mill and many, many hundreds of thousands of square feet. And this area really does cater to that growth.
As you're probably starting to notice, the Greater Portland region is full of great opportunities, places, and people. There's another person I want you all to meet. I got the chance to sit down with Bertoni Faustine of Abbey Creek Vineyard and Winery. Born from Haitian immigrant parents, Bertoni became the first recorded Black winemaker in Oregon back in 2008 and has an amazing story. Let's learn more about Bertoni and Abbey Creek Vineyard and Winery. All right, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell me about your wine business?
Yeah, so I am the founder, owner, winemaker of Abbey Creek Vineyard and Winery, the hip-hop winery of the Northwest. So my vineyard is located about 20 minutes outside of downtown Portland. I like to call it full country because I've got 50 acres, but being from New York, that's about as country as I would like to get.
So what's been your experience in the industry thus far?
The experience for me in the industry, definitely a roller coaster. I mean, the industry on the outside paints, the image of romance, but I'm a farmer, and farming is hard work. Being able to be on the farm, be in the tasting room, be in the winery, we literally touch every part of that product that you get, from being able to grow the grapes, make the wine, pour the wine, sell the wine. We take care of each step of that. And I've accepted that no one's ever going to love my brand as much as I do. So why not do it myself?
So you've chosen to build your business in the Greater Portland area. What is it about living here that's attractive to you?
Definitely. The beauty about the greater Portland area, and I talk about this all the time, and you'll hear me repeat it, is just the relational capital that we have in Portland. And it's not necessarily even having to do with people in the wine industry. It's other industries across the board and being able to connect with other owners, CEOs, judges, mayors, et cetera. It just allowed me to step out of the vein of just being in the wine industry. You know, I'm a businessman first and foremost, regardless of whatever industry I decide to be in. But the other beauty about living here is also the cost of land, cost of business. All of these things allow me to be a little bit more successful in the idea. And nothing is too far away. Everything is about a 30, 40-minute drive, you know. So if you're not in the literally downtown area, but the greater Portland area, you can have access to shops, land, business, et cetera.
So tell me, why should a company consider Greater Portland? If there's one or two or three things, what would you say is the difference maker, specifically in the wine industry?
In the wine industry, we've got multiple access to different growing climates that are not far away. So it allows you to have diversity in the type of fruit or the type of wines that you produce. Because most people don't realize the climate is what dictates the kind of grapes that I grow and the wine that I make. So being able to be in our area and be able to source other fruit is kind of what's amazing for me. And we all know it, Oregon, greater Portland area is on the global map for wine. So the talent pool that you get out here, because everyone wants to be part of the whole wine boom, the movement in the Willamette Valley. We're definitely growing into our skins and the sense of personality of who we are, you know, as a business and as a brand on the global market. And that's the other thing about the greater Portland area. You can have a large global international business here that does successful, but then you can also have a small Oregon-made, consumers love to support, you know, businesses that are producing in Oregon.
Can you talk to me about the business climate when you first came into the market and now?
Well, the business climate back then compared to now, it's definitely fruitful. It definitely has grown. People from all over the world are noticing the food and wine scene of Portland. It's amazing. We just finished filming the season of Top Chef Portland, actually, where they went to all of the Afrocentric type of restaurants and things that we had, where you may not have noticed that prior.
Can you talk about how GPI services could be utilized for a company coming into the market that's unfamiliar with the terrain and how to navigate?
The beauty about GPI is you guys have done all of the work. You have all of the access and the opportunities. It's hard enough just being a business owner, let alone trying to navigate, you know, what is it going to take for real estate, what is it going to take for capital, and all of these other things. So when I heard about GPI, just the amazing idea of being able to have this resource. There's a lot of information out there and on the web, and you spend a lot of time trying to filter through it, you know, in order to get to the areas that you need. But the Greater Portland Inc., you know, what they offer businesses, especially businesses that are not in the area yet, it's invaluable. You know.
Welcome to the live Q&A. I'm joined by Dave Stone with OSU Innovation Center, Bertoni Faustin Austin, owner of Abbey Creek Vineyard and Winery, and Michael Pan of Pans, and Kara Nolan with CBRE. Our region has long been at the forefront of sustainability and organics. What has that meant for you, your business, or the businesses you work with? Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, it's been incredible. We've been able to jump in. I'm an outsider that came out, not originally from the Portland area, but I was so surprised when I started my business in the greater Portland area when I found out very quickly that there were so many resources at my fingertips, all the way from the ingredients and the different products we can get, but also the community that really helped me get our business off the ground. And that was a huge asset that I found out very quickly would help us get our business off the ground. And we were very fortunate that the community welcomed us with open arms.
That's great. Bertoni, what about you?
Could you repeat that question again?
Sure. I'm curious to know more about your business or businesses you work with are at the forefront of sustainability and organics. What has that meant for you?
Um, what I enjoy about that is you don't feel like you're an outsider just trying to become a business in those kind of markets of being sustainable. It's the speak of the area, So you're not all alone when you're trying to decide on which companies to use, which products to use, how to sell, how to market your items.
Okay, thank you. Dave, question for you. What has been the feedback and what have people been most curious about learning and evaluating the greater Portland market?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think when I go overseas in particular and do a trade mission and work with countries around the world, one of the things that comes through a lot as far as a question is, this idea that Bertoni actually brought up, and that is this relational capacity we have here and the capital that we have in building really a collaboration that lifts all boats. It's just been remarkable when I have others that come here from outside of Oregon and work at the Food Innovation Center, and they see how connected we all are with each other. They really want that kind of ecosystem where they come from. And so the word has gotten out. And I think that when people see that creativity and the innovation that comes with people that all of a sudden connect from these different sectors or these different backgrounds, it's really where the magic happens. And so I get asked about that a lot. And I'll say very quickly, the other thing I get asked about is really the idea that the West Coast is where these food trends come from, and Portland being a leader in that, that really takes over. And so what is the spark that starts that, and why is it here? But it is.
Thank you. Yeah, the magic is happening here. During your interviews, Bertoni and Michael, you both touched on the greater Portland community being supportive. Can you talk more about how that has specifically applied to you and your business and how it's helped your business grow?
I guess I'll go first. I had an amazing opportunity recently where my downtown location is currently. There's a few other empty retail spots, and a local business owner whom I didn't know at the time actually was about to be moving into the space, but reached out and wanted to sort of, I guess, get my blessings because he thought one of his businesses was going to be in the same vein, I guess, as mine. And he wanted to make sure that I knew ahead of time his intentions, whether he was going to come in or not. And I just feel that I probably wouldn't have gotten that any other where, any other place when you think about businesses and being in competition. So just being able to have somebody reach out saying, hey, I'm going to have a like business, would you mind if I opened up in your same arena? I thought that it was amazing to me. It reminded me of the culture of the greater Portland area and the business community here.
Yeah, and for me, like I said, I was an outsider. I didn't know anyone in the area, and I just knew I wanted to start a business here. And luckily, I started getting involved in some of the different markets around town, and that's where kind of a lot of the magic happens. You end up meeting other makers who are in the same spot as you, and you share stories and the challenges and the good and the bad. And luckily, I met a person who had some days that they couldn't use their kitchen all the time, and so it seemed like a perfect fit where I could just jump in and help their rent and also launch my business. And that happened in 2018, and now we've gotten to the point where we're on Shark Tank last year, and we're growing, and we're trying to continue to build our manufacturing space out, and through the connections in town, met people who helped build our own space out after a couple of years. And now we're talking with other resources in the city, in the Portland area, who are helping us build out our manufacturing line, space plan, and help us understand how we need to staff that. And it's just been such a natural progression, really thanks to the people that we've come across in the greater Portland area.
Thank you. That sounds great. Kara, question for you. What are the biggest advantages for your clients to grow and relocate in this market?
A lot of what they tell me is is a lot of the talent pool that Portland has for its workers. And that piggybacks a lot on the innovation that we have here, draws a lot of people that want to be working within the food and beverage sector to the greater Portland area. So the talent pool is one, and another is the fact that for our real estate, if you look at other West Coast larger cities, we are less expensive and we still have some availability. We currently have about 8 million square feet in the Portland area that's available, with another 3 million square feet that's pending to get constructed. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility than a lot of other potential cities. And that's why they're attracted here. And then I believe they stay here because of the talent that the greater Portland area has.
How does Portland stack up when it relates to cold storage space and access?
Well, because we've had traditionally a lot of agriculture in our state, we do have a lot of existing infrastructure of cold storage along the I-5 corridor. So more than a lot of other potential cities would along the West Coast. So that existing infrastructure, as well as the companies that will service, we call them third-party logistics, companies that will service those spaces for whether it be an agricultural user or a food processor, they are ingrained and already in our area. It's a big plus.
Thank you. So this question's for everyone. I'm going to start with Michael first. If you had 30 seconds to tell a company why they should choose Greater Portland, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them that the Portland area, Greater Portland area, is just the perfect place to really get your business off the ground. And we truly went through that whole experience of finding a community to help lift us up, to get us off the ground, and provide resources for the knowledge gaps that we had early on in our business. And it's really hard to beat the access to ingredients. And if there aren't ingredients in the area, you can always bring those in. It's just so close to all the major transport hubs. And I would say the ability to, we self-manufacture in Portland, and the day-to-day operations and the ease of being able to get what you need, get the resources. So then it breaks down, you can call someone pretty easily. You can get around town fairly easily as well. It actually makes a big difference day to day. That adds up. And I wouldn't necessarily want to be in a huge metro area where I couldn't get around easily to do some of those things. And Portland's big enough, but also small enough where you feel you get the resource, but you also get the intimacy, I think, that you need to operate your business.
Carrie, you want to go next?
Sure. I think it would be driven down by cost, talent, the collaboration of the community that we've heard from all the panelists so far. But I'd also say look at the companies that started here and have grown here. And have established themselves here and have had great successes. We have a lot of food processing companies that have some great stories, and they could have gone anywhere, but they're still here today. So I think that there's just a tremendous track record that Portland has.
Thank you. Dave, next.
Yeah, well, I certainly agree with everything Kara and Michael said. I would add that, the ethos that runs through Portland is that it's a food and beverage town. So it's not a banking town. It's not a high-tech town all the time, but it's a food and beverage town. And that really speaks to a lot of the efforts that are underway, the events that occur, the trade shows, and you just see it throughout the entire greater Portland area. And so you'll have access to, whether you're a beginning entrepreneur or an existing company, all the things that come with that, from food science to events to ag tourism to sourcing. And it just really makes it that much easier for someone with a great idea, and you don't have to reinvent that whole food and beverage ecosystem.
Thank you. Bertoni, I'll let you close it out. Go strong.
Well, my word for the day is going to be relationships, and Michael, hit it on the head as well when he mentioned, being able to have this business community around that you can just share your stories of what's going on, and not just the rough times, but also the successes that happen as well. So being able to have that camaraderie in a business community, I think is invaluable, definitely invaluable. So relational capital is always going to be my thing that I lean on.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all again for joining us today. Thank you especially to all of our guests. Thank you to our production sponsors, Spirit Media. We hope you had great introduction to the food and beverage scene in Greater Portland. To start a conversation, email us at bizdev@greaterportlandinc.com. We hope to hear from you soon. On behalf of the Greater Portland Inc. team, I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Thank you.